Hello, my name is April Boggs, and today we will be talking about the role of prescribed fire in Piedmont bogs. Fire has played an important role in the natural ecosystems of the southeastern United States. The familiar species associated with prescribed fire, such as longleaf pines, red-cockaded woodpeckers, and northern bobwhite quail, are not the only species that can benefit from fire on the landscape. Wetlands are typically not thought of as fire-adapted communities, but several wetland communities are well adapted to fire, such as Pocosons, Carolina Bays, and bogs. One uncommon type of bog, a Piedmont bog, is a wetland in the Piedmont with slight slopes that contains plants adapted to acidic conditions. The acidic conditions are due to peat mosses and helps to create the low nutrient conditions, along with precipitation being the main water source. Let's talk to a professional from the Nature Conservancy to learn more about what a Piedmont bog really is.
Hello, I'm Brenda Wickman with the Nature Conservancy. Today we're standing in what's called a hillside seepage bog. This is a very rare community that's only found in a couple locations in North Carolina, in the Uwharrie Mountains where we are today, and then in some areas further to the north. What makes this community unique is the occurrence of pitcher plants and the buildup of sphagnum moss and very acidic soils. These wetlands are fed from seepage, groundwater flow. So they're not autotrophic bogs like we think of when we have deep peat accumulations in Europe or like our Pocoson ecosystems in the coastal plain region.
As Brenda mentioned, Piedmont bogs are actually hillside seepage bogs. The plants in Piedmont bogs, such as the pitcher plants in this photo that are located underneath grass, require disturbance to maintain open conditions, and may even persist in areas dominated by other communities, such as longleaf pine stands. Without fire, closed canopy forests will replace the Piedmont bog communities on all but the most mucky sites. Fire can be used as a disturbance to delay succession. One type of plant adapted to fire is the pitcher plant, including the purple pitcher plant in this photo, which benefits from delayed succession through the use of fire. Purple pitcher plant bogs have been called fire disclimaxes. The use of fire in Piedmont bogs has been exemplified at Black Ankle Bog Reserve, a 284-acre tract of land in Montgomery County, North Carolina, purchased by the Nature Conservancy in 1991, and that contains one of the last Piedmont bogs. Black Ankle serves as the example of a Piedmont bog for this video and is also the location of the prescribed fire in this photo. Fire helps to reduce fuel buildup that can cause severe fires that could kill plants, and also reduces competition and promotes flowering for the pitcher plants. As already stated, fires also help to delay succession by controlling tree competition to prevent bog plant communities from being shaded out. Let's meet with Brenda again to discuss the plant community found at Black Ankle Bog.
Today we're standing in a hillside seepage bog in the Piedmont region of North Carolina in the Uwharrie Mountains. What makes this plant community interesting and unique is the occurrence of pitcher plants, which are more commonly found in our coastal plain region. There are two pitcher plants here, Sarracenia flava, the tall yellow pitcher plant, and Sarracenia purpurea, the small purple pitcher plant. These pitcher plants and their occurrence within the seepage area is what makes this plant community unique, in addition to a couple species, additional species more commonly found in the coastal plain, such as Smilex laurifolia. The combination of seepage running from the hillside and the lack of continuing flow of water allows buildup of wetland soils that are very acidic and perfect environment for the pitcher plants to grow.
Due to fire suppression, which may allow other plant species, such as hardwood tree species, to compete with the plants in these communities for light and for water. Such plant communities are less common than they once were. However, organizations like the Nature Conservancy are dedicated to conserving such areas and using active management, such as prescribed fire, to do so. Let's talk to another professional who works with the Nature Conservancy to discuss the use of prescribed fire at Black Ankle Bog.
My name is Margaret Walker. I'm the fire manager for the Nature Conservancy in North Carolina, and I've been involved in managing Black Ankle Bog since we acquired it in the early 1990s. When we bought the bog, we had concerns about hardwoods encroaching on the bog and shading out the pitcher plants. So we looked at the bigger landscape context for the bog to figure out how we can open it up and manage it with more natural disturbance regimes rather than just going in there and pruning it. We discovered that there are a lot of longleaf pines in the area. They were cut in the early 1900s and they were hand cut, so we saw a lot of stumps. We talked with the neighbors. Some of them had done a lot of history research, and it turned out this area used to be dominated by longleaf pine. Fire management and changes in timber management had changed in the 1920s, 1930s, and now much of the canopy was dominated by hardwoods and a few longleaf pine were remnant in there. We decided to restore the forest because the forest is what partly drives how much water is available to the bog, and by restoring the bigger landscape context around the seepage bog at Black Ankle, we reduced the number of hardwoods that were sucking up water and evaporating it, so more water is available to the bog, and it also reduced the hardwoods that were encroaching into the bog. We've experimented a little bit with fire return intervals. We knew that longleaf pine, depending on who you talk to, has somewhere between 1 to 10 year fire return interval. You have the best chance of maintaining the open longleaf pine stands with sort of a more grassy understory, which is what we were looking for to maintain the bog in somewhere in the 3 to 5 year return interval. We talked to our neighbors, and some of them grew up on the property, and some of their parents were telling stories that they pretty much burned the woods, every year or every other year because they were running cattle in the area and the cattle were grazing and they had better forage when it was grassy. So we put fire back in because the forest had changed. We were pretty much depending on a 2 to 3, sometimes 4 year return interval based on the material, the leaf litter that was available to burn. The fire did not carry well and did not set back hardwoods if we tried to burn more frequently. So in our restoration phase, we first focused on burning during the spring when we could get an intensive fire that was really effective on killing the hardwoods. As we've succeeded with several spring burns, opening up the stand and conditions, we started switching and experimenting with later growing season burns because conditions now were more open. Even in summer, we could carry a fire through the now more grass component in the area. And we've had really good luck with burns late in May, June, as well as in August, where we've really set the shrubs back and we've promoted a lot more of the herbs and forbs in the area. So we feel like if we can, once we've opened the canopy, if we're working with a fire return interval somewhere in the 2 to 3, 4, 5 years, it always depends a little bit on the climate and what else is going on, whether you can always hit your burn target return interval, so, which is why I'm a little wishy-washy, but if you're looking at somewhere, 2 to 5 years fire return interval, and if you can include some growing season burns, I think that's going to be the best way of maintaining these seepage bogs in the Piedmont, where it's a situation with longleaf pine in an open condition. If you look at bogs that are a little bit, further up in the Piedmont, fire return intervals, maybe a little bit longer, but based on historic maps, much of the Piedmont was in much more, savanna-like conditions, so fire would have played a role, and fire return intervals would have been probably similar in that. We've worked with other land managers in the Uaris through the Greater Uari Partnership, and particularly the U.S. Forest Service has done a lot of restoration burns and begun longleaf pine restoration. With their burning, a lot of other seepage bogs, have opened back up, and we feel like there is much more of this extensive network of seepage bogs that is now coming back to a really good condition through prescribed burning and managing for the longleaf pine forest. We're managing the Greater Piedmont bog community.
Sometimes it is difficult to use fire in an area, especially if the tract of land is small, if fire suppression has occurred for a long period of time, or if weather conditions do not match those needed to conduct a burn. However, the use of prescribed fire is an important tool for the restoration of natural communities, especially those in decline. Steps must be taken to reintroduce fire into the landscape. Compared to other community types, little appears to be known about hillside seepage bogs and our own Piedmont bogs. More research is needed to learn about the ecology of Piedmont bogs, but we do know that fire plays an important role in allowing them to persist.